It's time for dinner.
Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong.
From the creative mind of Scott Bertelson, after 4 decades of teaching our impressionable youth,
The dinner bell.
you are invited to enjoy conversational morsels for the mind at Mr. B's dinner party.
Yeah, dinner.
Oh, it's that time again. It's time. Yes. Yes. It's time for Mr. B's dinner party. How are you all out there? I hope you are having the best time of your life. Whether you're walking or watching the birds or enjoying the flowers in the yard or sitting in your living room and contemplating the purpose of life, whatever you're doing. I hope it's good because I'm glad to be with you today. And you know what, my happy podcast friends? It's just me today. It's just Mr. B. I've had a cavalcade of people come through and I've thoroughly enjoyed interviewing them. But today it's solo time. So it's time to belly up to the table. It's Mr. B's dinner party. Here we go.
Let's have a seat round the proverbial table
Would you like to say grace?
with a nod to our higher power and Mr. B's spiritual journey.
My spiritual friends, I have been sharing with you for this past year, yes, it's almost a year, the journey that I have been on for many, many months, coming up on 6 years, of my sobriety from addictive foods and how that has changed my life. And I have been sharing with you my journey, how it has changed me internally and physically and spiritually and emotionally. And today I'm going to talk about step 12, the last of the steps. I've been going through the steps with you, and I want to share with you that these steps have really saved my life from dire dread and depression and sadness. And I adhere to these 12 steps as much as I can on a daily basis. And they help to guide me, lead me. My higher power directs me, instructs me, makes me make choices that are appropriate. And I realize that, as I've said all along here, that I can't do it on my own. I cannot. I don't have the power. I do have power for certain things that my higher power has given me. That is true. But when it comes to my alcoholic foods, I have no power. And so I have to give it up to my higher power. And my higher power then keeps me clean. So if we have worked the first 11 steps of the program, we've had a spiritual awakening. And I have had that. I have become attuned to my belief that there is a power greater than myself that can lead me to sanity, that can lead me to happiness, that can lead me to joy. And those of us who have suffered from complete powerlessness now have discovered the saving strength of a power greater than ourselves. I have experienced the miracle of physical, emotional, and spiritual healing. I've had to decide to trust my higher power with every aspect of my life, folks. I have to wake up every morning and thank my higher power that I'm alive and ask my higher power what I can do to be of service to the world and how to stay happy. And I've learned to try to live one day at a time with a new set of skills for living. And I don't have to fear anything. And I don't have to overeat because overeating is not going to solve anything. For example, my friends, I recently hit a deer, common occurrence for any of us who live here in Iowa. And I was by myself in the car by Lake Mills during the day, and this huge deer bolted from the ditch and hit my car. And my car is at this point operable. I'm going to be taking it in for repairs, but that in the past, as I've told many people, would have sent me into a binge mode tailspin, where I would have gone home and eaten everything in the house and felt sorry for myself and asked, why did this happen to me? Why? Oh, it's always me. Wah, wah, wah. And I never once had the feeling of overeating. And I am so grateful for that, because my higher power has helped me with that. My higher power has taken that addiction away. And I'm so thankful for that. So if I have things that happen in my life on a daily basis, which aren't always pleasant, I know that the food is not going to help. I'm not afraid of food. I'm really not. I'm just no longer controlled by it. I don't have to be afraid of standing in a quick star, checking out, being surrounded by cookies and cakes and donuts and everything that I can't eat that will self-destruct me, or going to a McDonald's with a friend, and I'm not tempted to want to eat something that I really don't feel I should have. I've developed an immunity most of the time. Now, I have moments that's cracked. There are moments, yes, that it becomes difficult and I have to do extra praying. But most of the time, it's okay. If I crave some food that I shouldn't have, then I know I have to go back to the steps, or I have to pray more, or I have to really find out the reason what's going on with me as to why that's happening to me. Do we ever graduate from our disease? Never. We always carry our disease with us. We can celebrate milestones, anniversaries of abstinence, which I've done. I can be of service to people. I can have sponsees. But I have to continue this journey one day at a time for the rest of my life. One day at a time. I have to be able to remember that I've got to share my experience, strength, and hope with others. That's why I have 3 sponsees at this point. Now, that could change. That's always tentative. You never know if that's going to be something that they will follow through with or not. I had my own issues with my sponsor where I went back on and lost it and lied to him, and then I had to stop communicating with him because I wasn't being honest, and I relapsed. But I came back, and he took me back, and I'm very grateful for that. We cannot follow this program in isolation. We have to always give and be of service to other people. So if with my sponsees, whom I speak with 2 of them every day, except weekends sometimes, the other one I speak to once a week, and that seems to work for him. And I have to be available for them. If I don't feel like talking, it doesn't really matter, because I made a commitment to them, and I have to honor that, and I have to listen to them, and I have to be of help to them if they ask for my help. So, for years, I tried to look for happiness and unbridled eating in possessions, material possessions, social status, all of that. And you know what? At this age of my life, being 65, really doesn't matter. No, it really doesn't, because service now is more of a surprisingly powerful factor in my life. making phone calls, going to meetings, giving words of encouragement, being kind to people, volunteering my time. All of these things bring me much more joy than trying to add more money to my checking account or trying to impress somebody just for the sake of social status. Just not important to me. The joy that we receive as we try to carry the message is a positive force for me every single day. I've talked about my food addiction to people, and sometimes they understand and sometimes they don't. And I don't judge them because they don't understand. It's okay. But sometimes people just don't get why are you choosing not to eat this burger, or why are you choosing not to eat this salad or potato salad or whatever it would be. And I just say I just choose not to have it. And then they'll usually ask me if I have a gluten problem or if I'm diabetic. And the answer to either one of those is no, I'm not allergic, and I am not diabetic. The path I was going down a number of years ago, if I had not changed my eating style, I probably would be diabetic at this time. And I'm very grateful to say that I don't take any medication for any of that. I don't take blood pressure, high blood pressure medication anymore. I used to take that for years. No longer is that needed in my life, and I'm very grateful for that. So, I have found also with my giving that I have done more with my church, singing in church, reading in church, wanting to be a member of the church. Again, with my food addiction, I don't necessarily have to go to a church for spirituality. I can get that from what I'm doing right now. But I now do find spirituality in church. We have to, once we reach step 12, we have to try to act in a new way of living with life every day, taking it as it is, accepting it, doing what we can, and confirming that we're moving in a new direction of spiritual growth. And that's what I've been trying to do in my life. Step 1, just as a review, we admitted that we couldn't do it. We had hit rock bottom. Diets didn't work anymore. We couldn't stop from eating food that really was killing us. And we had to get some hope. That's where step 2 came in. We learned that hope comes in if we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Then we learned in step 3 that we had to have faith. We have to trust God, as we understand Him, with our will and our lives. And we have to act according to what our higher power tells us to do. In steps 4 and 5, which we've covered, we learn courage and integrity as we face the truth about our defects of character. We no longer need to appear to the world as perfect people. We can live more fully, having the courage to live up to our mistakes and realize that we are far from perfect. But we are striving every day to be a better person. In step 6, we learned about the necessity of willingness to get ready to let go of our shortcomings and to cooperate with our higher power. In step 7, we learned humility. We let go of status seeking, let go of thoughts and actions by which we belittled ourselves, and we started to trust God for the removal of our shortcomings. And then, in steps 8 and 9, we looked at the damage we had done and we went about repairing it. We used the principles of self-discipline and love and used it in all our actions. We are now establishing the best possible relationship with people we know. We reached out to people and told them if we had made errors, if we had harmed them, and we took accountability for that. we cleaned our side of the street. And in step 10, we discovered the value of perseverance, practicing these principles every day, even though we wonder if we still need to, or have I graduated from this program, because we never do. It brings us a reward of continuing permanent recovery. And in step 11, we learned the principle of spiritual awareness that turned our attention to the practices of prayer and meditation. And the principle of service, which really underlines the 12th step, can now guide our actions both inside and outside. We do no longer have to be isolated with food obsession. We can be out in the world exploring, using these spiritual principles. And we have to remember that we are the message every day. We are the embodiment of the message. We live well, we are well, and we embody the joy of recovery, which attract others who want what we have in this program. So step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to compulsive overeaters and to practice these principles in all our affairs. That is what we do on a daily basis. We try to be a living reminder to everyone that we are practicing our program and that we are healed and that we are happy and that we owe our lives to our higher power and grateful to our higher power.
For the next course, come one, come all. Nothing spoiled here. From comfort classics to what's hot now. Film reviews from Mr. B's Rewatchables.
For my film rewatchable this week, my friends, once again, I'm going back to the 80s. Now, you're probably thinking, my gosh, most of the films he talks about are from the 80s. Well, that's very true. But I think that these are memorable films that you should see and find them on a streaming service or buy them or rent them, video on demand, whatever that is. Find it on a cable station and see clips from it on YouTube, and that might encourage you to see the film. I've talked about a wide variety of movies. One that will always have a special place in my heart is called Ordinary People. Ordinary People. This is a 1980 drama, and I remember I was at UNI when this came out, and I remember the first time I saw this film, I was so emotionally distraught. I remember going to the car after I saw the film and crying, as the old cliche goes, like a baby, because I was so saddened by this story and what happened and why these people acted the way that they did. And I also felt great anger towards one character. And I have found over the years in my rewatching it, I've seen it many times, that every time I watch it, I have different feelings for this character. It's the Mary Tyler Moore character, the mother. Sometimes I have compassion for her. Sometimes I have sympathy. Sometimes I have empathy. And sometimes I absolutely detest her. But I think that's what the director wanted. I simply find it absolutely an amazing film. The film, Ordinary People, that came out in 1980, as I said, was directed by Robert Redford, one of my favorite actors. And this was his feature debut. And it was based on a novel by Judith Guest. And it starred Donald Sutherland as the father, Mary Tyler Moore as the mother, Judd Hirsch as the psychologist, and Timothy Hutton, a very young Timothy Hutton, as the young boy. It was released September 19th, 1980, and it had critical success and monetary success. It made $90 million on a budget of $6.2 million. It received 6 Academy Award nominations: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Supporting Actor. Hutton did win for Best Supporting Actor, and I believe he was one of the youngest people to ever receive that. It also received 5 Golden Globe Awards. Roger Ebert, the main man, so to speak, when it comes to movies, gave it 4 stars. And it is such an engrossing story, but yet such a simple story. Let me tell you a little bit about it. It involves a family called the Garretts, who are upper middle class family who live in Lake Forest, Chicago. And they are trying to return to normal life after experiencing the death of their older son, Buck, and the attempted suicide of their younger surviving son, Conrad, who's played by Timothy Hutton. Conrad has recently returned home after being in the psychiatric hospital for 4 months. When he comes home, he feels very alienated from friends and family and seeks help from a psychologist, Dr. Berger, who discovers that Conrad was involved in this sailing accident that unfortunately took Buck's death, his older brother's life. Conrad is now dealing with the post-traumatic stress and dealing with his emotions. Now, Calvin, Conrad's father, attempts to always throughout the film connect with his surviving son and understand, while Conrad's mother, Beth, denies her loss, hoping to maintain her composure and restore her family to what it once was. She does not want to acknowledge it. She does not want to think about it. She does not want to be reminded of it. Nothing. She appears, though, to have favored her older son and has grown very cold toward Conrad due to his suicide attempt, which he made in the home. She is determined to maintain the appearance of perfection and being normal, and her efforts only serve to alienate Conrad more.
Where have you been every night?
Nowhere. Around. The library, mostly.
Why didn't you tell us, Connie?
I don't know. I didn't think it mattered.
What do you mean? Why wouldn't it matter? Of course it matters.
No, that was meant for me, Calvin.
What was meant for you?
It's really important to try to hurt me, isn't it?
Don't you have that backwards?
Oh? And how do I hurt you? By embarrassing you in front of a friend? Poor Beth. She has no idea what her son is up to. He lies and she believes every word of it.
I didn't lie.
You did. You lied every time you came into this house at 6:30. If it's starting all over again, the lying, the covering up, the disappearing for hours, I will not stand for it. I can't stand it. I really can't.
Well, don't then. Go to Europe.
Conrad works with a psychiatrist and begins to learn more of how to deal with his emotions. He starts dating a fellow student, Janine, who helps him regain a sense of optimism. But unfortunately, he still struggles to communicate and establish normal relationship with his parents and schoolmates. Now, Beth and Conrad often argue over how to approach Calvin and how to help him. And the father almost always takes Conrad's side.
Hungry?
Hungry.
It's French toast. It's your favorite.
Yeah. I'm not really hungry.
Breakfast pal, remember? Main meal, energy.
You're not hungry, you're not hungry.
Wait a minute, Bev. Hang on a second, you'll eat it. Come on. It's French toast.
There's fresh fruit for you when you get home
What are
from
you
school,
doing,
Conrad.
Bev? What are you doing?
You can't say French toast.
And tensions escalate near Christmas when Conrad becomes furious at Beth for not wanting to take a photo with him, swearing at her in front of his grandparents. It's a very disturbing scene. She can't even stand by her son for a few moments for a family picture when they can't get the camera to work. It's just so horrible to watch. What makes this film so amazing is that you see the character of Beth, as played by Mary Tyler Moore, who she's coming off the success of, and I've talked about the Mary Tyler Moore Show, the Dick Van Dyke Show. Here she went completely the opposite and played a cold, cruel, distant person, ice cold person. So different from anything that she's played before. Her portrayal was highly acclaimed, and it did win her a Best Actress nomination. And then Judd Hirsch was amazing as the psychiatrist. And this was very different for him too, because he used to be on Taxi, and here he plays this very involved, serious psychiatrist who really helps Conrad to come to terms with his own life and feeling good about his life.
She killed herself. I just found out she's dead.
Jesus.
And she was fine. She was okay.
No. She wasn't.
She was. She was. She told me. She said she was.
What?
She was busy. She was feeling good. And she.
And what? What?
I just wish I known. I could have done something.
You saw her once, and now you want to take her on too.
No!
No?
There are so many scenes in the movie that are moving and touching. There is the scene where Calvin, the father, is crying in the middle of the night near the end of the film, and Beth comes down and she said, "Why are you crying?" And he said, "Well, I've been thinking about things." Now, I'm not giving you the exact dialogue here. And he said, I don't know what kind of game we've been playing here and what's going on with our marriage. And then he said, "I just don't think I love you anymore." And she just looks at him, walks away, goes up the stairs, starts packing a bag, and just gives a glimpse of the internal struggle that she might be feeling, even though she doesn't ever want to really acknowledge that she is very, very, very sad yet and very, very much yet grieving. She won't deal with it. And then she takes off, and you never really know what happens to their marriage. If she comes home, if they reconcile, you don't know. And then the end of the film, Conrad and Kelvin are sitting outside the house, and Conrad says, "Oh, this is all my fault that she left." And Kelvin says, "No, don't do that to yourself. You had nothing to do with this. It's not your fault. It's not your fault."
You know, I used to figure you had a handle for everything. You knew it all. And I know that wasn't fair, but you always made us feel like everything was going to be all right. I thought about that a lot lately. I really admire you for it.
Well, don't admire people too much. They'll disappoint you sometimes.
I'm not disappointed. I love you.
I love you too.
And also the scene where they show the two boys out on the lake when this storm comes up and their boat capsizes and they're hanging on, and the older son goes under and doesn't hang on, and Conrad does hang on. And Conrad has a inspiration or a visitation from these great thoughts in the middle of the night and goes to his psychiatrist, psychologist, whichever, and says, "I don't think I can go on." And the psychologist says, "What did you do that night? What did you do that your brother didn't do?" And finally, Conrad says, "I hung on. I hung on." And that is a turning point for him to realize he no longer has to blame himself for his brother's death. He was not accountable for that. This is something that just happened. It was an accident. And Conrad no longer has to carry around this tremendous guilt.
He just wasn't careful. He just wasn't careful. He didn't see how a bad thing might happen.
Bad things happen even when people are careful.
We screwed around out there. We shouldn't have. We should have come in when it started to look bad.
Okay, so you made a mistake.
Why did you let go? Why?
Maybe you were stronger. Did it ever occur to you that you might have been stronger?
Another memorable scene is the mom and dad are going to Texas. Beth always wants to leave the house and go on vacation. She doesn't want to be around Conrad. And they're playing golf with her brother and sister in Texas. And on the golf course, they get into this argument of Beth saying to Calvin, I don't know what you want from me anymore. I can't wrap my arms around Conrad and tell him I love him. I just can't do it. And he said, he just wants to know that you don't hate him. And she says, hate him? How could I hate him?
He controls you even when you're 2,000 miles away.
He isn't the problem.
Isn't he?
No, he isn't. Now let's talk about what's really bothering you.
No, let's talk about what's bothering you. Because that's what you want, isn't it?
Jesus, what have I done to make you so angry with
It's
me?
not what you've done. It's what you think I've done. You blame me for the whole thing.
But can't you see anything except in terms of how it affects you?
No, I can't. And neither can you, and neither can anybody else. Only maybe I'm just a little more honest about
Well,
it.
stop being so goddamned honest and start being a little generous and start thinking about him
I
for a
don't know
while.
what it is he expects from me. I never have known.
Well, I'll tell you what he expects.
What? He wants me to throw my arms around him every time he passes an exam? Well, I can't do it. I cannot respond when someone says, here, I just did this great thing. Love me. I can't.
All he wants is to know that you don't hate him. That's
Hate
it.
him? God, how could I hate him? Mothers don't hate their sons. Is that what he told you?
But yet, if you watch the film, it seems like she does. That she does really blame him for the death of the older son. Now, does that change? We don't know. Do they reconcile? We don't know. When I first saw it, as I said so many years ago, I just couldn't understand how anybody could be so cruel to his or her own child and be so distant, so icy. And then I guess with living my life, I've realized that maybe that's the only thing that she knew what to do. That she just simply, as Calvin said, could not handle a mess. She didn't like a mess. She lived in this perfect world prior to the accident. 2 lovely children, great home, didn't have to work, great husband, great society influence, always volunteering on committees, always keeping up appearances, so to speak. And now there's a mess, and she didn't like a mess. And I would highly recommend my smart film viewers that you take the time to watch Ordinary People and see a portrayal of a woman by Mary Tyler Moore that is absolutely amazing. This is not Mary Tyler Moore, Mary Richards from the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Not at all. A complete departure from that. And amazing cast, amazing story, well directed. The music is beautiful. And it's one of those quiet films that you want to return to ever so often and revisit. And every time you do, you have a different emotional response to it. And that, to me, is a true mark of a great storytelling and a great director who has taken this story and brought it to the screen. So, Ordinary People, please take the opportunity to watch this engrossing, tragic story sometime.
Let's lend our ears to the wacky observations of the world, according to Scott. Mr. B's wacky, 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 wacky world.
Now for Mr. B's wacky, 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 wacky world. We've covered a lot of the pet peeves, things that get under my skin, things that if I allowed them to drive me crazy at times, or am I already there? Anyway, what I've been thinking about lately, and I don't want to sound like I'm a downer. I'm not a downer person. No, I'm really not. I'm an upbeat person. But one of my pet peeves, and I maybe have alluded to it before, is small talk. Oh my gosh. I don't know what it is. Maybe now that I'm 65, I'm just small talked out. I just can't. And again, I'm still going to engage in it. Let's be real. I mean, I'm not blaming anybody for this, and I'm not condemning anybody for this. I'm just telling you how I feel right now about this. And that is, I'm so tired of talking about the weather. I'm so tired about talking about minute things when I'm with people waiting in line, and it's nothing against them. That's not it. I'm no better than anybody else. No, I'm not. But what's wrong with silence? I'm just getting to a point where I would rather just stand in silence and feel compelled to engage in small talk. Because there's just so much you can say about the humid weather, or it's going to rain, or it's so dry, so on and so forth. Why can't we think of other topics to talk about? Can we talk about the importance of love in life, or kindness, or things like that? Maybe we should be doing something like that instead. But we always resort to the weather, and I'm just as guilty as anybody else. I know, but I'm just on this this kick today about getting rid of small talk, or at least finding a different topic to talk about than something like that would be really helpful. And to add to my part of this, I am really going to try to, in my life, adhere to just trying to be silent instead of talking about the humidity or anything like that. Or trying to find us a topic, if I know the person, that maybe we could discuss, which would probably not involve politics. Not going to go there. Don't think so. Anyway, and just try to rid myself of this this intense, I don't want to say anger, but frustration or bewilderment that I have when it comes to small talk. I don't know. Maybe I've just done it too many years. Maybe I need to graduate from small talk school. I don't know. I just have found, I've shared with you some things I've realized being 65. Here's another one. I'm just, and I know I've said it before, but I'm just small talked out. I just can't do it. Again, if the weather's important, watch the news. Turn to the Weather Channel. So there you go. Anyway, did I come to any kind of consensus on that? Not at all. So anyway, just take it for what it's worth. But the next time I see you, don't be afraid to come up and talk with me, because I love talking with people and I love being sociable. But let's try to talk about something different from the weather. Thanks, folks. And there you go. I've shared with you today at Mr. B's Dinner Party my spiritual journey, a review of a classic film, and a little bit about how I feel about small, or should we call it worthless talk. And as you go out into your world, or if you're not already in your world, this is really the start of my second season. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? I've been here a full year. Woo! Wow! I guess I had nowhere else to go. But anyway, I do intend to keep coming back because I just love doing this. And I'm so grateful to Troy Thompson, as I've said many, many times, and I know he likes it when I say that, for everything he's done for me to fulfill this dream that I've always had. And I'm going to keep coming back because I think sometimes I have something to say, and I think sometimes I can interview people, and I think that reaching out to people through a podcast can be very, very positive. And so if I've made any small difference in your life as you belly up to the table and enjoy the entree and the salad and the dessert and the beverage, I hope that you walk away feeling satisfied, because as we come into our second season, there'll be more adventures, more people, more topics. I'm definitely going to continue with my spiritual journey, because every day is a new adventure when you are an abstinent person, when I am free from my alcoholic foods. And I want to share that with you because I want to make a difference. And I wish you well. Goodbye for now.
Mr. B's Dinner Party is hosted by Scott Bertelson, edited and produced by Troy Thompson, recorded and distributed at Sunnyside Farm Studios. Music is provided by Soundstripe and platformed by Buzzsprout. Like our page on Facebook, subscribe so you never miss an episode, and share with your friends. Listen and enjoy every other Wednesday. Conversational morsels for the mind on Mr. B's Dinner Party.